Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Willpower Wrestling. And you may have noticed some of my videos lately, they don't have the intro at the beginning. Really, that intro was made for radio. So it's 30-second song. That's too long. I'm currently working on editing that down to about 5 seconds or so. So for now, no intro on the videos, but enough about that. This video is about the May 8th edition of SmackDown Live. Only a couple of weeks removed from the Superstar shakeup and the first SmackDown after Backlash, which was not a fun show, but actually this SmackDown show was pretty damn fun. But while I do have some good news about this show, there is some bad news. But let's get into the good news first. So overall, one thing I really liked about both Monday Night Raw and this edition of SmackDown is that the Money in the Bank qualifying matches, they were really well set up. There was unpredictable matchups like Daniel Bryan versus Rusev, Jeff Hardy versus The Miz, which was a fantastic match. And you couldn't really tell who was going to win in either of these matches, both triple threat matches from Monday Night Raw with Finn Balor, Sami Zayn, and Roman Reigns, and the women's triple threat match. They were unpredictable as well. And I definitely like having qualifying matches for the Money in the Bank instead of just throwing guys in there, which is what we've seen sometimes in the past with WWE around Money in the Bank time. And speaking of qualifying matches, let's get into the match that kicked off this edition of SmackDown. It was The Miz versus Jeff Hardy. And this was a pretty long match. It went all of 20 minutes and a pretty damn good match. Really, I thought it was fantastic. So check out this match if you haven't already. The Miz is on fire lately as an in-ring performer. I never thought I would say that, but after his performance at Backlash against Seth Rollins and now here against Jeff Hardy, The Miz is on fire. And right when it looked like Jeff Hardy was about to pick up the win in this match, he hit his twist of fate and even hit the Swanton bomb. As soon as he hit that Swanton bomb, I thought that was it. He's getting the 1, 2, 3. Nobody has kicked out of the Swanton bomb yet in this new run for Jeff Hardy since he returned to WWE last year. But what The Miz did was, as soon as he was hit by the Swanton bomb and Hardy covers him, The Miz kind of rolls him over into a quick pinning predicament and gets the 1, 2, 3 like that. So it kind of looked like The Miz no-sold the Swanton bomb, which is a little weird. We've seen Triple H actually pin Jeff Hardy like this back in 2008 during their rivalry. But I liked it. I like The Miz in the Money in the Bank match. He's my early prediction to win this year's Money in the Bank. It just makes sense. You have The Miz win it, and then he eventually feuds with Daniel Bryan later in the year is my prediction. So The Miz picks up the win when I thought Jeff Hardy would, but honestly, both of these guys would be awesome in Money in the Bank. So that's what made this match so believable, is that Jeff Hardy, he's only been in one Money in the Bank match before, and the daredevil he is, he's practically made for a match like Money in the Bank. But The Miz, he's an opportunist, and he also fits in the Money in the Bank. So a really good match between these two. Check it out if you haven't already. Charlotte faced off against Peyton Royce in a qualifying match for the women's Money in the Bank, and Charlotte won. This match was back and forth. It was a little slow at some points. I can definitely tell that Peyton Royce is still a little green in comparison to Charlotte, and it was still a good match. So there was one point in particular where it looked like Peyton Royce was going to pick up the win. She had a distraction from Billie Kay. Billie Kay distracted Charlotte, and as soon as Charlotte turned around, Peyton Royce nailed her with a wheelbarrow kick, I believe, or I'm forgetting the name of her kick move, but she hit her with a windmill kick, I believe. Kind of looks like the one Booker T used to do. Anyways, it looked like she was about to pin Charlotte right then and there. Charlotte kicked out. She eventually locked in the figure 8, and Peyton Royce was tapping all the way home. So Charlotte picking up the win. She's now in the women's Money in the Bank match. And the Iconics, they cut a promo before this match. These two girls, Billie Kay and Peyton Royce, they're pretty good on the mic. They're super annoying, though, which I think is supposed to be their gimmick, right? They're heels. So mission accomplished, because when they get on the microphone, I'm just like, damn, we have to sit through another annoying Iconics promo. They're kind of like just the Mean Girls that you would see in a high school, kind of like the Mean Girls movie. They're very snotty and holier than thou, this superiority complex that they have of them. So, yeah, but they're good heels. maybe we'll see them pick up some momentum later on. But for this night, it was Charlotte who picked up the victory. Also, Shinsuke Nakamura, he had a quick backstage segment with Renee Young. Basically, Renee Young asked him about the AJ Styles match at Backlash and what happened there. And Shinsuke basically pretended they didn't speak English again. But he did continue a little bit more. He said, AJ Styles is nuts. And the crowd laughed at that, considering their feud has been basically a highlight reel of low blows. But Shinsuke said, I'm nuts too. And he said his business with AJ Styles was far from being finished. And just hearing this promo, it's weird. Shinsuke, he wasn't on the show besides this. This was his only segment. AJ wasn't on the show at all. And I can't help but feel like their match at Backlash, despite this being a pretty funny promo, and we get to see another AJ versus Shinsuke match, I can't help but feel that their match at Backlash really just hurt both guys. Both of these guys are such elite in-ring performers that have so much talent, and they can really pull off a great match. I still think so, at least, that having a finish like how they had at Backlash with both guys low blowing each other at the same time, basically kicking each other in the balls at the same time and then writhing in pain together, it doesn't do either of these guys any justice. It's a disservice to both of these guys, and it just, I don't know. To me, it makes them both look bad. It kind of delegitimizes them, if that's even a word, a little bit, at least while they're in this feud. So I'm ready for this feud to be over. If they face each other one more time, I don't really care who wins at this point. If AJ wins, cool. If Shinsuke wins, better, because I think Shinsuke should get a run with the WWE Championship right now. But I love AJ as champ, so it really doesn't matter to me. And at this point, I want both these guys just to move on to something else. Cesaro had a match with Xavier Woods trying to avenge Sheamus's loss after last week's SmackDown Live edition. And I was thinking that they would be interrupted by the Bludgeon Brothers, that the Bludgeon Brothers would come out and assault both of them in the middle of their match. That's actually not what happened. Cesaro defeated Xavier Woods clean with an uppercut. Xavier Woods came off the top rope. Cesaro nailed him with an uppercut. Beautiful uppercut. You know how Cesaro does it. He's flawless with those uppercuts. Taking a page out of Michelle McCool and Layla's books. He's flawless with those uppercuts. So he picked up the win for his team. There's a lot of distraction. The New Day were throwing pancakes around during the match. They totally just bombarded Sheamus with pancakes, a barrage of pancakes while Sheamus was standing up on the apron. So a lot of pancakes in this match, but Cesaro picking up the win for his team. And there was a pretty funny segment earlier in the night, too, where Cesaro was kind of poking fun at Sheamus, saying, hey, you lost last week to Xavier Woods. I wouldn't lose to him. And they were opening up their gym bags, and their gym bags were both absolutely full of pancakes. So kind of goofy stuff there, but man, I love pancakes. So when I see a gym bag full of pancakes, I'm thinking, damn, these guys are lucky. Why aren't they eating some of them? But pretty obvious why they're not. So Cesaro picking up the win for the Bar here to avenge his partner Sheamus's loss last week. And there was a promo, even though the Bludgeon Brothers weren't involved on the show in front of the live audience, they did have a segment backstage where a lot of WWE toys were shown, but they were all disfigured and burned, and heads were ripped off. So it showed Big E holding Xavier Woods' head, and Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson, who I forgot are even on SmackDown, but yeah, I guess they are now. SmackDown's loaded, and just burned figures of them. So this looked pretty creepy, and then I realized, oh, it's the Bludgeon Brothers. So they still made their presence known on the show, despite not exactly being on the show, not cutting a promo or having a match. And this kind of leads me into what I mentioned earlier with the bad news about SmackDown. And I was going to save this for a little later, but I'll just talk about it now, is that SmackDown's roster is loaded. They have an awesome roster top to bottom, but it gets me thinking that since they have so many superstars on their roster, there's not enough room for everyone there. And that's fine. You don't need to see the same people every single week. In fact, you shouldn't. But I feel like for some of the key players, the Samoa Joes, the Randy Ortons, they should be on the show, or at least have their presence known every week. But just to tally it up on this show, there was no mention at all of Samoa Joe after his loss to Roman Reigns at Backlash. There was no sight at all of AJ Styles. Big Cass was not on the show at all. Randy Orton was not on the show at all. The Usos were not on the show at all. Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson, not on this show. And you still got more people coming to SmackDown. Andrade Cien Almas, he's announced to be debuting next week. Sanity, they're still running promos with them, teasing their debut. They're not on the roster yet. So, well, I don't mind not seeing the same guys on SmackDown every week. They don't need to be on the show every week, but it worries me that there's just not going to be enough TV time. Almost like SmackDown needs to be a 3-hour show now because there's just not enough TV time, it seems like, to even feature all of the key players on the show. And NXT has something similar. NXT is only a 1-hour show, so you don't see the same guys every single week. I can't even remember the last time I saw Velveteen Dream on that show, and that works for NXT. And I think it can work for SmackDown too, but I don't know. I feel like it's almost a little overcrowded on SmackDown. I want to see guys like Daniel Bryan every week, but I don't know. It just seems like that's going to be hard to do with the way SmackDown is laid out right now. So kind of something to think about going forward with SmackDown. Do they have enough room for all the talent that they have on the show? Can good writing and good booking substitute for possibly having an overcrowded roster for a 2-hour show? Let me know in the comments. Tweet me at WillGlassband. And before I get into anything else with that, let's talk about the ending of the show. And that's actually all I had to say on that topic with overcrowding. But also Mandy Rose, she had a match with Becky Lynch. She actually beat Becky Lynch with a roll-up. So yeah, feel bad for Becky Lynch. She can't seem to really build any momentum at all. Even with Sonya Deville being banned from ringside, since Paige earlier on in the night, she said, listen, Absolution is dead. And yeah, you don't get to go to ringside, Sonya Deville. It's going to be Mandy Rose all by herself. And Mandy Rose picked up a fluke pinfall victory, and she beat Becky Lynch. And speaking of Mandy Rose, she does have her own theme music now. They even do the blurry camera effect when she comes out. It's like you're supposed to be mesmerized. Like we're all supposed to feel the same way that Corey Graves does when Mandy Rose comes out. And she is a gorgeous woman. So I think this works for her. It's a cool starting off point. Her music is very jazzy, has a lot of saxophone in it. It's almost like, I don't know, like we're ready to see her bust a move and start dancing or something like that. But yeah, so Mandy Rose getting her own theme music is pretty cool, and she picked up the win here against Becky Lynch. And in the main event, we had another Money in the Bank qualifier, Rusev versus Daniel Bryan. And I couldn't pick who was going to win this match. I thought Daniel Bryan would, but then I thought about it. Daniel Bryan, he doesn't need to be in Money in the Bank. He should really get a world title shot whenever he wants. He just wins a number one contender match, and then he's right there. He's already at the top of the card. But I still thought he would win. Surprisingly enough, he didn't. There was some interference from Aiden English here, but Daniel Bryan, he lost fairly clean to Rusev. So Daniel Bryan going for the running knee. Rusev catapults him up, almost like a pop-up catapult there into a knee buster, where Daniel Bryan lands on Rusev's knees like a pop-up gut buster almost. And then Rusev hits the Machka kick. It only took one Machka kick, and he beat Daniel Bryan here. So Rusev is going to be in the Money in the Bank match. Daniel Bryan will not be. And after this ended, this was sold as a big deal. The audience was chanting, Daniel Bryan, and the announcers, the SmackDown announcers, Corey Graves and company, were making this out to be a big loss for Daniel Bryan. How Daniel Bryan, he's scratched and clawed, and now he's finally back to wrestling, and he just lost a really big match. So Daniel Bryan was looking very dejected as SmackDown went off the air. But Daniel Bryan will be fine, and I'm happy Rusev won. I will have been happy with either of these guys winning, honestly. But Rusev, it'll be interesting to see him in Money in the Bank, and I suppose that Rusev is staying heel. After WrestleMania, it seemed like he was really heading into the direction of a babyface, but it looks like Rusev is destined to stay heel, at least for right now. So that was this week's edition of SmackDown in a nutshell. Let me know what you thought of SmackDown. Let me know what you think of Willpower Wrestling so far. For those of you who are listening, am I doing a good job? How can I improve? Let me know, please, in the comment section. Tweet me at Will Glassband. That's Will, Glasband. It'll all be in the video description. Also, check out the Instagram page if you'd like to, and the Facebook page as well. So that does it for me, and I will see you guys next time with a Monday Night Raw review next week. Take care.